The bond that defied evolution. The Interstellar Defense Coalition transport ship shuddered as it entered Nexus 7's turbulent atmosphere. Maya Chen gripped her harness tighter, trying to ignore the pitying glances from the other recruits. Humans were the newest species to join the IDC, and nobody expected much from the soft-skinned primates with their fragile bodies and primitive technology. Atmospheric entry complete. Welcome to Nexus 7 training facility, announced the ship's AI in 6 different languages. Current surface temperature, 42 degrees Celsius. Atmospheric toxicity, moderate. Indigenous predator activity, high. Have a pleasant stay. Maya wiped sweat from her forehead as the loading ramp descended, revealing the harsh landscape of Nexus 7, a planet that had claimed more recruits than any other training ground in the Coalition. The scorching twin suns beat down on red-orange terrain that stretched to the horizon, broken only by jagged rock formations and patches of alien vegetation that looked more weapon than plant. Another human. Commander Vrax's 4 nostril slits flared in what Maya had learned was the Taurian equivalent of a smirk. The commander's thick hide was covered in natural armor plates, evolved from centuries on a high-gravity world. Let's see if you last longer than the previous one. 26 hours was the record, I believe. Maya stood at attention, ignoring the commander's bait. Recruit Maya Chen reporting for duty, sir. At least this one has proper military bearing, remarked Lieutenant Sisk, a serpentine Vesperian whose metallic scales gleamed under the harsh sunlight. Squad assignment Delta 9. Report to barracks, see immediately. The barracks were little more than reinforced modules designed to withstand Nexus 7's frequent ion storms. Inside, Maya found herself facing her new squadmates, a hulking Drovian with skin like volcanic rock, twin Silurian symbionts whose translucent bodies pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, and a Canteri warrior whose segmented exoskeleton clicked nervously at the sight of her. They sent us a human. The Drovian, who introduced himself as Gorak, laughed, a sound like stones grinding together. What's next? Recruiting infants. I am Shirvax, the Canteri said, mandibles twitching. Our last human teammate suffered catastrophic tissue damage during the first exercise. Your species is not built for Nexus 7. Maya stowed her gear in the designated locker. I'm from the Australian outback on Earth. Grew up with some of the deadliest creatures in our galaxy as neighbors. This place doesn't scare me. The Silurian twins, who shared a neural network and went by Isla and Toma, floated closer. Fascinating. Human bravado despite obvious biological disadvantages. Is this what your species calls bluffing? Before Maya could respond, the barracks alarm blared. All recruits to the assembly area. First training exercise commences in 30 minutes. The Crimson Badlands lived up to their name. The rusty terrain was split by deep crevices that vented noxious gases, while carnivorous plants disguised as harmless rock formations snapped at unwary passersby. Squad Delta 9 moved cautiously through the landscape, each member gripping standard-issue pulse rifles. The objective is simple, Lieutenant Zisk had explained during the briefing. Reach the beacon at Quarry Point, retrieve the mission package, and return to base. Avoid indigenous life forms when possible. Defend yourselves when necessary. What the lieutenant hadn't mentioned was that the path to Quarry Point cut straight through territory, claimed by some of Nexus 7's most aggressive predators. Movement at 2 o'clock, Shirvax whispered, his compound eyes scanning the horizon. Large signature, moving fast. Gorak readied his weapon. Probably a ridgeback. Pack hunters. If there's one, there's a dozen. Maya activated her bioscanner, a graduation gift from her xenobiology professor back on Earth. That's not a ridgeback. Thermal signature is too concentrated, and it's moving. She paused, studying the readings. It's moving too intelligently. Calculated. The Silurians pulsed with alarm patterns. Night Stalker, they said in unison, their normally melodic voices flat with fear. Even Gorak's rocky complexion seemed to pale. We need to move. Now. What's a Night Stalker? Maya asked, jogging to keep up as the squad suddenly increased their pace. Apex predator. Shervax clicked anxiously. Evolved perfect camouflage. Hunts using electromagnetic sense organs. Can detect heartbeats from 2 kilometers away. They're practically invisible until they attack, added Gorek. The IDC has lost 37 recruits to Night Stalkers in the past cycle alone. Maya checked her scanner again. The signature was closing in, moving with deliberate purpose. It's hurting us. Driving us toward that ravine. Hila and Toma pulsed rapidly. Correct assessment. Classic hunting pattern. We make a stand here, Maya decided, pointing to a rocky outcropping. Better than being trapped in a ravine. Shervax's mandibles clicked in agitation. Humans cannot give orders to. The words died as a shadow detached itself from the landscape 50 meters away. The Night Stalker moved like liquid darkness, its segmented body covered in scales that shifted color with each movement. 6 limbs propelled it across the terrain with terrible grace, while a crown of sensory appendages swayed on its elongated head. Don't run, Maya said quietly. It triggers their chase instinct. But Shervax panicked, firing wildly before sprinting in the opposite direction. The creature's head snapped toward the fleeing Cantari, sensory crown flaring. With impossible speed, it changed direction and pursued. Damn it! Maya sprinted after them, ignoring Gorek's shout to stop. She crested a ridge just in time to see Shervax stumble into one of the carnivorous rock formations. Serrated appendages erupted from the ground, wrapping around the Cantari's legs. The Night Stalker closed in, its maw opening to reveal multiple rows of prismatic teeth. Maya didn't think, she acted. Drawing her utility knife, she slashed her palm and flung herself between the predator and her squadmate, blood spattering on the rust-colored soil. Hey, over here, she shouted, waving her bleeding hand. The Night Stalker froze, its sensory crown extended fully, pulsating with strange bioluminescence. Maya stood her ground, heart hammering as the creature approached, not in attack posture, but with an almost curious gait. It stopped just meters away, lowering its massive head to Maya's level. The sensory appendages reached out, not quite touching her, sampling the air around her body. Maya remained perfectly still, barely breathing as the galaxy's most perfect killing machine examined her with clinical interest. Then, to her astonishment, the Night Stalker made a sound, a low, resonating purr that vibrated through the ground beneath her feet. It backed away several paces, then lowered its front section in a motion that looked remarkably like a bow. Behind her, Maya heard Gorek and the Silurians arriving, their weapons raised. "Don't shoot," she called out, not taking her eyes off the predator. I think it's responding to me." "Impossible," Gorek rumbled, but his weapon remained trained on the creature. Maya took a deep breath and extended her uninjured hand, palm out, toward the Night Stalker. "Back," she said firmly. The creature tilted its head, sensory crown pulsing, then retreated several meters. "Statistically impossible." The Silurians hummed in unison. Maya pointed to the trapped Shervax. "Help," she said to the Night Stalker, knowing it couldn't understand her words, but hoping it might grasp her intent. To everyone's shock, the predator slunk forward, sensory appendages examining the carnivorous plant. With surgical precision, it used its razor-sharp foreclaws to sever the appendages holding Shervax, careful not to harm the Cantari in the process. Shervax scrambled away, mandibles clicking rapidly in shock. The human controlled it. How? Maya shook her head, as amazed as the others. "I don't know, but I think we just found our escort to Quarry Point." As Squad Delta 9 continued their mission with the galaxy's deadliest predator padding alongside them, like an oversized guard dog, Maya couldn't help but wonder what it was about humans that had formed this unexpected connection, and what it might mean for humanity's place in the Coalition. The Alpha Protocol. Commander Vrax's office erupted in chaos. "You brought a live Night Stalker into my facility." The commander's voice rose to a pitch that made the observation windows vibrate. Maya stood at attention, ignoring the commotion visible through the window where soldiers had formed a perimeter around the Night Stalker. The creature remained calm, lying sphinx-like in the compound's central yard, ignoring the weapons trained on it while methodically grooming its sensory crown. "Sir, it followed us back from the training exercise. It appears to have bonded with me." Bonded? It's not a pet, recruit. It's a Class 5 apex predator responsible for more IDC casualties than any other species on Nexus 7. Vrax slammed a four-fingered hand on his desk. "I've called in a containment team. They'll be here in 6 hours to neutralize it." "With respect, sir, I believe that would be a mistake." Maya kept her voice level. "If a human can form a connection with Nexus 7's most dangerous predator, imagine the tactical applications." Lieutenant Zisk, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. "The human has a point, Commander. This is unprecedented. Our xenobiologists should study this phenomenon before we resort to elimination." Commander Vrax's facial plates shifted in what Maya recognized as reluctant consideration. "You have until the containment team arrives to convince our science division this creature doesn't need to be vaporized." Dismissed. The science lab was a stark white contrast to the rusty landscape visible through its reinforced windows. Dr. Ilara, the station's lead xenobiologist, circled Maya with undisguised fascination. The Araxian scientist's multiple eyes blinked asynchronously as she took readings. "Remarkable," she murmured, examining the data tablet. "Your pheromone profile contains compounds we've never observed in any coalition species, similar molecular structure to certain compounds found in Night Stalker mating pheromones." Gorak, who had surprisingly volunteered to accompany Maya, rumbled with laughter. "Are you saying the beast thinks the human is its mate?" Dr. Ilara's sensory tendrils twitched in irritation. "No, more complex. These compounds typically signal to Night Stalkers that another creature is a dominant alpha. Essentially," she turned to Maya, "it recognizes you as its superior in the pack hierarchy." "That explains why it followed her commands," Shervax added from the doorway. The Cantari had been uncharacteristically respectful since Maya had saved him from becoming plant food. Maya processed this information. "So humans naturally produce chemicals that make Night Stalkers see us as dominant." "Not all humans," Dr. Ilara clarified. "Your specific genetic makeup has a rare mutation that amplifies these compounds. According to your file, you grew up in an area on Earth with high radiation levels from historic nuclear testing." Maya nodded. "The Australian Outback Restoration Zone. My family were environmental engineers." "That exposure likely triggered epigenetic changes," Dr. Ilara concluded. "We should." The lab's emergency alert cut her off. Commander Vrax's voice filled the room. "All personnel to battle stations. Unidentified vessels have entered Nexus 7's atmosphere. Hostile intent confirmed." Through the window, Maya watched as 3 sleek ships descended toward the facility, their design unlike any coalition vessel. "Raiders," Gorak growled. "Probably Scythian. They target training facilities for weapons and recruits." The facility rocked as the first bombardment hit. "They're targeting our defense grid," Shervax observed, his military training taking over. "Standard pre-invasion tactics." Maya's mind raced. The containment team was still hours away, and the facility's defenses were already failing. "I have an idea," she said, turning to Dr. Ilara. "But I need access to the Night Stalker." The scientist hesitated only briefly before nodding. "Better than waiting to be captured by raiders." Commander Vrax predictably hated the plan. "You want to release a pack of Night Stalkers against the raiders." He shouted over the sound of another explosion. "And you think you can control them because one didn't eat you?" "Not a pack, sir," Maya clarified. "Just one. The one that's already bonded with me. And I don't need to control a pack. Night Stalkers are territorial. If I can get my companion to mark the other Night Stalkers' hunting grounds as its territory, they'll avoid the area. The raiders, however, will be walking right into it." The commander stared at her, That's either brilliant or suicidal. Welcome to human thinking, Gorak muttered, but there was a new respect in his gravelly voice. With the facility's perimeter breached and Raider scouts already visible in the distance, Commander Vrax gave the reluctant order. Maya approached the Night Stalker, which immediately rose and lowered its head in that strange battle-like gesture. "I need your help," she said softly, extending her hand. The creature's sensory crown extended, gentle appendages brushing against her fingers. The plan was simple but dangerous. Maya, accompanied by her alien squadmates and the Night Stalker, would lead the raiders into a section of the Crimson Badlands, known to contain at least 3 Night Stalker territories. There, they would spring an ambush, with Maya's Night Stalker marking key areas to keep other predators away from their position. "Still can't believe I'm trusting my life to a human and her pet monster." Shervax clicked as they moved through the harsh terrain, staying low to avoid Raider scouts. "That pet monster saved your exoskeleton once already," Maya reminded him. "And if this works, the score will be humanity too, Cantari 0. The Silurian twins pulsed with what Maya now recognized as their version of laughter. Human humor during crisis situations. Fascinating adaptive response. They'd reached the ambush point, a narrow canyon leading to a plateau surrounded by the distinctive territorial markers of multiple Night Stalkers. Already, raiders could be seen following their deliberately obvious trail. "Now or never," Maya said, turning to her Night Stalker. She made a circular motion with her hand, a gesture she had been practicing with the creature. "Mark territory." The predator understood immediately, moving to key positions around their location and deploying scent markers from specialized glands. The process took precious minutes, during which Maya could hear the raiders drawing closer. "They're here," Gorak whispered, readying his weapon. The first Raider scouts appeared at the canyon entrance. Tall, cybernetically enhanced humanoids with pulse rifles and targeting visors. They hesitated, their sensors detecting the Night Stalker markings. "Ready," Maya said quietly. "When I give the signal." She never finished the sentence. Her Night Stalker, apparently deciding that waiting was inefficient, let out a bone-chilling roar that echoed through the canyon. The raiders froze, then began firing wildly as the massive predator charged. "So much for the ambush," Gorak grumbled, opening fire from their hidden position. Chaos erupted in the canyon. Maya's Night Stalker moved like a shadow through the raiders, its adaptive camouflage making it nearly impossible to target. The IDC squad provided covering fire, picking off raiders who tried to retreat. What truly turned the tide, however, was what didn't happen. Despite the noise and combat, no other Night Stalkers appeared. The territorial markers were working, keeping the other apex predators at bay while Maya's companion decimated the raider forces. Within minutes, the surviving raiders were in full retreat, fleeing back to their ships. Maya's squadmates stared at her with new eyes as the Night Stalker returned to her side, its sensory crown pulsing with what she now recognized as satisfaction. "That," said Shervax slowly, "was not in any coalition tactical manual." "Human improvisation," Maya replied with a smile, patting the Night Stalker's flank. "We're full of surprises." When they returned to base, they found the containment team had arrived early, and with them, an unexpected visitor. Admiral Cora, the Coalition's Supreme Commander, waited in the command center, her crystalline form shimmering with interest as Maya entered with the Night Stalker padding obediently at her heels. "So," the Admiral's translated voice chimed, "this is the human who tamed Nexus 7's most feared predator and repelled a Scythian raider force. Impressive." Maya saluted. "Just adapting to circumstances, Admiral. Your adaptation has revealed a capability we never suspected humans possessed." The Admiral's crystalline structure shifted into what Maya had learned indicated deep thought. "I'm establishing a new division, interspecies synergy. Its purpose will be to explore unique biological connections between coalition species. You, Recruit Chen, will be its first officer." Commander Vrax's facial plates flared in shock. "Admiral, with respect, she's just a recruit. A recruit who accomplished what none of our experienced officers could, Admiral Cora replied. Sometimes, Commander, new perspectives are precisely what we need. 3 cycles later, the Interstellar Defense Coalition officially recognized the Night Stalker, now named Shadow by Maya, as the first non-sentient special operative in Coalition history. Training facilities across Coalition space began screening human recruits for the rare genetic markers that enabled communication with previously untamable species. And Maya Chen, once dismissed as just another fragile human, led the new Synergy Division with Shadow at her side. Living proof that humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or physical prowess, but the unexpected connections they formed wherever they went. As the Silurian twins had recorded in their anthropological study, humans possess an inexplicable ability to form bonds with creatures that, by all logical assessment, should consider them prey. Perhaps this explains how such a physically unimpressive species survived long enough to reach the stars. They don't conquer their fears, they befriend them.